Minahan, Common Sense HD, with the staff of BCAT. And today's guest is Sandra Libby, a playground consultant and safety author. Sandra Libby is from Billerica and has kindly come down to Burlington today to talk to us and inform us about playground safety. So how are you doing today, Sandra?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks. And thank you very much for having me. I'm really excited and I love to talk about playgrounds, so I'm really glad to be here.
So what would be the first message that you would have for the listeners concerning playground safety? We have a lot of grandparents and they're of course very concerned about their grandchildren, and so what would be the first message?
Well, I think one thing, first of all, I want to say is I am not at all trying to take the fun out of playgrounds, because that is the whole point. We want our kids to get exercise, get out there, have a good time, and experience all the different things with a playground. But we want to have a little common sense here. We want to make sure that our children are not needlessly hurt, and that's the bottom line. There's no sense in putting a child at risk when we don't need to.
So how did you get involved with playground safety?
Well, I had been volunteering for the library, and then I had little children, and I was at the playground one day. My daughter, who is now 13, I have two daughters, and I have a son that's 25, and I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old. But my older daughter was 1.5, and we were sitting on this fire engine. And the fire engine had two planks that went out back, and of course we're pretending, we're driving. And of course my 1.5-year-old decides to book it to the other end of the fire engine, and I knew at the other end there was one of those fire poles. And I thought, oh no, and so I ran around and I knew I wasn't going to get there in time. And of course she fell off flat onto the sand face first, and I thought, oh, I just had this sinking feeling as a parent, what is going on here? I wasn't there in time, and I started to look around at the equipment and look at equipment in a whole different light, and then I ended up going myself and getting certified as a playground safety inspector.
So what does the certification involve?
What it involves is it's called the CPSI, and it's with the National Recreation and Parks Association. They have the National Playground Safety Institute that typically the people that go are people that sell playground equipment, people that do insurance agents go, recreation people go, and they learn about inspecting. And I just decided to go myself and learn about it and see what I could do.
So what does it involve, though? What does it really involve? Tell me what it really involves.
It's very involved.
Hands-on training? Was it classroom experience? Was it both?
It was.
Did they show you engineering?
3 days, very intensive, and you take a very intense exam at the end. Not everyone passes. And this was 7 years ago that I got certified.
So it's not a guarantee. It's no lock.
I know a lot of people that have failed. And what I did was I was there for the 3 days, and I've taken it 3 times now because you have to re-up it every 3 years.
So how did your perspective on the playgrounds in your community change after you took the class? I mean,
it changed dramatically right from the start.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, where do we go from here? And so I really delved into learning the industry, meeting the sales reps for all the different companies in New England, and really getting to know playgrounds, playground design. I went to the National Program for Playground Safety. They have a SAFE certification, and got certified as an educator so that I could teach playground supervisors, a playground supervisor class, and then I started from there to think, and I worked on playgrounds for a long time, for years as first as a volunteer, but then started my consulting business, and started consulting for other towns and communities and helping them to put together a playground.
So how has your safety initiative evolved?
It's evolved to this point where I saw a great need for a book for children, and I always wanted to write a children's book. So I saw that as a way to communicate the safety. And so I wrote a book. It's designed for 2 to 8 year olds,
Okay.
and I got it. It was endorsed by the National Program for Playground Safety.
Okay.
So they endorsed it, and so I decided to self-publish it, and I use it when I go to programs. I go to daycares. I just spent last week 4 days in Martha's Vineyard.
Okay.
I did about 18 different programs for all of their daycares on the vineyard.
And so how many copies have you published so far?
I've sold about 1,200 copies
1,200?
and gone to different preschools and programs. And some preschools will have me come in and just to pay a fee and read the book. Others, the kids will buy the book, and if they buy so many copies, the program's free. And then other groups.
What's the content of the book?
Just buy it. The content of the book is it's rhymes and it's fun.
Give me an example.
And it starts off, going to the playground is so much fun. We love the swings and slides and to run, but there are some things that we need to remember. We go to the playground from January to December. And it goes into different, each page, there's 10 different things that I teach in the book. And the first thing, for example, is about checking the grounds. And when I do the program, I talk about the 3 things that are important when you check the grounds. I do a little demonstration with checking the, cleaning up trash, checking for broken equipment, talk to the kids about what you do when broken equipment. But the other piece is surfacing.
Okay.
And surfacing is 70% of injuries are due to falls to surface.
Okay.
So that's a really key piece, but it's not the only piece in your playground maintenance. And so I will bring in, there's actually 5 different types of surfacing we use on the playgrounds. One is sand and another is pea stone, but actually we really can't use those on public playgrounds anymore because they're not handicap accessible unless you made some sort of rubber mat to the playground. But then the next one would be engineered wood fiber or wood carpet, and that has to be ASTM certified. So with playgrounds, we have 2 organizations actually that are involved. When you take the inspection, you learn about the Consumer Product Safety Commission guidelines
Okay.
and the ASTM standards.
Okay.
So the ASTM standards with surfacing, you need to have, depending on the height of your equipment, anywhere from 9 to 12 inches of wood carpet.
Okay.
Now, wood carpet is one of the preferred, and you'll see a lot of playgrounds with the wood carpet because it is one of the, not only handicap accessible, but it's one of the cheaper ways to go.
Okay.
But it does require maintenance. You have to replenish it, make sure the levels, and every couple years put in some more. And then the next would be shredded rubber they have now. And then, and that's, so the wood carpet's about between $1 to $2 a square foot. The shredded rubber goes about $4 a square foot. And then you have the rubber tiles or the poured in place rubber. And on that, you want to make sure you get at least a 3-year, if not a 5-year warranty on yours. And that can go $9, $10 a square foot to start.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
What about the issue of volition of the product, whether it be the wood or the rubber? I was listening to a program, and that was one of their concerns about keeping playgrounds safe.
As far as maintenance, you're talking about, when you get
with
cracks?
the decomposition of the carpet relative to sun and weather exposure, and
It does decompose, and
Okay.
you do have to maintain it.
But there's no, people shouldn't be worried about a hazard of their child ingesting or inhaling.
No, not this, because if you buy the ASTM certified engineered wood fiber, you're talking about hardwood. It doesn't have any kind of bark or anything in it.
Okay.
And it's shredded to a point where
It's not chemically treated.
it's not chemically treated.
And is that similarly true for the rubber? That'd be no different than if the kid ate the eraser off the pencil?
You
know what I'm saying?
I mean, it all depends on what you buy. You have to buy the right
Right.
stuff. You don't want to buy anything there's a lot of bad stuff out there.
Right, but
You
if
have to
they're
be
in
a
their
good consumer.
community and they're worried about the carpet in the community, and they're going to go talk to their selectman or town manager because they're afraid that their child has ingested
Some rubber.
some rubber
Well,
that
that's why it's
met all the safety standards. Do you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Well,
but
that's
they
why-
just don't know.
Yeah, you need to have a playground book, what I call your binder, and that's what I put together with people when I do what you do for when I do inspections.
Okay.
Is the first inspection is an audit. It's a complete. I do it on the computer. I put your playground into the computer, and I completely go through everything on your site,
Okay.
and around the site, and you start off. And then it goes through different levels, and then it goes through each piece of equipment.
So do you suggest they keep this at town hall or something like
Or
that,
the
where
rec
it's
department,
accessible for?
the rec department, but the town wants to keep it. Now, what you do is from there you make a plan with your playground. And when I inspect it, and there's different inspectors out there, but when I inspect it, I put comments in the back. And then you list through your comments. So say you have 10 different things that you need to address, and you make a plan to fix those things. And then once a year, you should have an inspector come back out and just update everything. And then from there, I can set up the site checks, and there's a formula to determine, depending on the biggest factors with the playground are how much moving equipment you have, because that
Okay.
takes more maintenance, the size of your playground is another thing, and the kind of surfacing. So from there, what you end up doing is you determine how frequently you need to do your checks, and I train your staff on how to do those checks, and then you have documentation on your site, and you have everything you need. So if anybody had any questions about your site and about your equipment, you would have the answer to it.
Okay. And what about for the development of new recreation parks?
Well, development of new parks, I work with a number of groups right now. I'm working with, and as far as what I do as a consultant is I know all the sales reps. We can do two different ways. One, you can do a straight bid on a playground. So if you knew specifically, for example, you wanted 5 benches and you wanted them made out of this certain material, you could bid out the straight bid, or you wanted just a slide. But if you want to do a more general playground, I do an RFP, a request for proposal, and we set it up specific to your needs and what you want, and you set a price. So say you said, I want to spend $50,000 on equipment, and I like to take the surfacing out, the fencing out, everything out, and just do equipment. And you ask 3 or 4 companies in on your bid. You pick, and there's some really good companies in the area. And it depends on, I think, too, which companies you pick, if you want to do a community build, or if you want to have an installation. And you bid that out separate, too.
Okay.
And so if you want a community build is great. It's a great way to save money. Installation will cost about 25 to 33% of the equipment cost. So depending on what the amount of equipment you're putting in. And so from the RFP, what we do is we spec it out. I sit down with the client, I spec it out with them, and then I meet with the 3 or 4 companies that they've chosen with me to go with. They go ahead and I meet with them at the site, give them all the facts. They have a couple weeks to do the design and to present the proposal.
Okay.
Then I sit down with the client and whoever, the committee, and we go through the proposals and we grade them. We grade them on and in fact these companies know what they're being graded on beforehand. We grade them on warranty, we check references, we grade them on all the different factors that are important to a playground. And there's about 10 different things that they're graded on. And then from there, you pick the 2 best companies, and you have them come and do a presentation to you. And they answer any questions, and from there you pick which site. But you're setting the price there. You're saying, I want $50,000. So what they're really giving you is the most, they're competing with each other for that.
And they
So
essentially
they're
know
giving you,
each other as well.
and they do.
too.
They all know each other.
Right.
And they're giving you the most play value and the best warranty and the best of everything.
Okay.
So it's a good thing.
Is there a website that parents can go to for not only if they wanted to see anything that you've created, but as well for safety to see if there were recalls on equipment or whatnot?
Well, I can certainly send them anything. If people want to email me, I'm happy to send them a list of references. I had a website for a while and I did away with it. It wasn't a good thing for me, but I find that dealing with the customer and having them email me, I can send them any information about me. But if they want to, one is I'm personally registered with the Consumer Product Safety Commission.
Okay.
They will pop, if you go on their site and just get on their email list, every day or two, they'll send you a list of recalled items.
Okay.
And you can go on there and you can see, for example, they're very big on children, and this is in my book, children not wearing helmets on the playground. Because a playground is designed for the exact size that every, of a child. And so they determine what size the crawl spaces should be based on that size. And when you put a helmet on a child's head, it gets bigger. And children have choked because of it. So that's one thing that they do. They also don't want children to have drawstrings, and this is also in my book.
So could parents, I don't want to, could
Yeah.
parents email